Hey, we're trying some new things out. So if those who didn't know, that's the NFL draft song. Played a different way so you're not breaking copyright strikes and all that stuff. But can you guys do me a big favor? Huge favor. Like a fool, this is not your fault. This is my fault. This is my own dang fault. This is my third time recording this. I screwed up with the mic both times. So do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Hit the notification, share with your friends, because my goodness, I've wasted a lot of time on this. We're now sitting here, and you know what? One perk, it's 1 a.m. my time. By the time I'm done with this, it's probably going to be 3 a.m., and at my time, the Cubs are starting in their season opener against the Los Angeles Dodgers in Tokyo. So, you know what? I'm just staying up now. That's what's going down. I'm staying up tonight. I was going to try to get to bed at, like 10 o'clock, so then I could wake up, have the game recording, and wake up around, 6 and watch 2 hours of the game before I got my day going. But apparently there were different plans in line for me. Let's make me smaller because I got some big points to make on this video. And I'm getting back to, guys, we're going to get back to where I make a point with the drafts. And you don't always have to agree with me. I'm gonna preface that, okay? We all have different opinions, and who the crap knows who's going to be right this time of year? No one knows what's going to happen. I would like to know I know what's going to happen, but I don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But there's one clear position that is stuck out to me in my little brain where I sit over hours and hours of watching film and doing these stupid stats. Those who don't know, these are from my own little spreadsheets that I create and compile together, and it's obsessive, and I'm a madman. I'm crazy. But I want to share it with you guys. So there's one clear position where it's a Bears need, and it sticks out where the gap from first round to second round is huge. And it's not running back. And a lot of people will convince you it's running back, that Ashton Jeanty is so far ahead of everybody else, and everybody else is far behind him, and nobody can compare, and he's God walking on water, and he's the best thing since Barry Sanders or Walter Payton, and he's going to be the next great Hall of Fame running back before he ever touches the field or touches a football in the NFL. Even though he fumbles a ton and drops passes. And yeah, anyways, I don't have anything. I really don't have anything against Ashton Jeanty. What I have is a problem with the Bears drafting a running back in the first round when we have bigger needs and no depth. Depth in the trenches. We need that depth, okay? So I've looked at the offensive line. Yeah, you can actually find some decent depth later on when you've got the starters we do. With Braxton Jones, with Drew Dahlman, with Joe Thuney, and Jonah Jackson, and Darnell Wright. When you got those starting five, you can take some of that depth later. And you even have Ryan Bates and Karan Amagaji, who now have some experience in this system. And so, you got some depth there, but really weak depth. And Bill Murray played a few snaps. He played one game before his injury, so there's an option there too. Offensive line, I can see that. Edge. There is a huge drop-off from round 1 to 2, but then I looked and I said, there's actually quite a few of these guys in the second round and the third round who could fit that bill of developing behind Dayo Odengbo and behind Montez Sweat and alongside of Austin Booker. There's some big ones, and so there's some big boys that could develop. So I can see us taking one in the second or third round, a Landon Jackson, a Jordan Birch, some of these bigger guys. Running back, you look at these guys, Ashton Jeanty, 7.3 yards per attempt, 5.4 yards after contact. And then you look at Caleb Johnson's right there with them, and some of these other guys, Bashul Tutton's right up there with them. RJ Harvey's right up there with them. There's perks to each one of these guys. Ashton Jeanty, I'm not going to back off of it. It's very significant when you watch the film. Him playing against Penn State, him playing against UNLV in that first game versus Portland, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, some of these weaker schools, it is noticeable. I think you put Ashton Jeanty in the SEC, and he's going to be right here with Caleb Johnson, O'Marion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins. I'm not saying he's worse. I'm not saying he's dropping down to 10th in this draft. I don't think he's a breakaway, far and ahead number one running back in this draft. In fact, last year, Ollie Gordon was the hands-down consensus number one running back in the 2025 NFL draft. Every analyst on the books told you Ollie Gordon would be the number one running back taken off the board in the 2025 NFL draft. It wasn't Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty didn't even have a good season in 2023. He was nowhere to be heard of. I mean, he played. He wasn't nowhere to be heard of, but he was not significant. Every year this happens. You have a running back show up. You have a running back that gets tread on his tires. A running back whose line changes, and then all of a sudden they drop off. Those telling you Ashton Genty doesn't have a great line because, look, where's Ashton Genty's line getting drafted in this draft? Well, lo and behold, one of the best tackles in college football is Ashton Genty's left tackle. He's not eligible till next year. So don't listen to all the narratives you hear. There's always something behind something someone's saying. Caleb Johnson, in fact, carried Iowa on his back. I mean, he carried them hand, tooth, foot, nail, everything. He was the one that carried them. And you can say the same for Ashton Genty against weaker competition as well. Marion Hampton also had some decently weak competition. I can agree to that in North Carolina. But Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, Cameron Scadaboo, who was probably the most dominant. I mean, one of the fun, who translates to the NFL. Anybody who thinks this Ashton Genty and some of these guys who had breakaway yards in college is going to happen in the NFL, they're not going to be running over linebackers the way they did in college. They're not going to be breaking through lines with Mack trucks whole size like that. They're going to be pounding and working their butts off for 4 yards per carry. There's a reason players dip from 7, 6, 5 yards per carry to 4 and 3.5 and 3.75 and 3.8, 3.9 yards per carry. That's what happens when you hit the NFL. You're going to run into some, instead of having Mack truck size holes, you're going to run into some Mack trucks in the linebackers, in your nickelbacks, in your safeties coming up to blitz. You're going to have that happen in the NFL. So I'd rather have someone like a Cam Scadaboo who you guys see he doesn't have the breakaway speed. He's not going to run away from everyone. You're not going to get that in the NFL all the time. You're going to get that once or twice or 3 times a year from your running back. Cam Scadaboo is going to be that guy that's going to turn a 2-yard gain into a 5-yard gain consistently. More than Ashton Genty, I dare say. So, anyways, there's my rant on the running backs. But at the defensive tackles, look up here at the top. And this is the whole basis of this video. And then I will get into the mock draft. I promise you there's always a mock draft to be had. Look at these guys at the top here. Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan. These weights aren't all completely accurate. After the combine, we found out Mason Graham was closer to 300. Walter Nolan's closer to 300. Kenneth Grant's closer to 330. And a lot of people, I see a lot of Bears fans taking Tyleik Williams. He's just as good in the second round as Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, and Mason Graham are in the first round. Bull crap. Bull crap. You look at his SHH here, stands for Sack Hit Hurry. That stands for how many plays between a pressure do they generate. Now, you look at the big significant thing here on the right, missed tackles. We were atrocious last year in the run game. Missed tackles were bad for the Bears. So Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, all really good, and you like to see that. These other 3, not quite up to snuff with all that. Not terrible for Tyleik Williams, but then you look at the pressures generated. Derek Harmon, that's really good to see, but a very poor tackler, so you're sacrificing one thing for the other. Is that the same as these top first-rounders? No, not a complete package. Half a package and a lot to work on, but still some good stuff there. But you're not getting the same level as you're getting these top 3, who are all 3 consensus top 20 picks in this draft. They all should be gone by the top 20-ish. You'll have some run on some other positions right there. Maybe one of them lasts till 23 or 24. Maybe they're all gone by 15. Who knows? We'll find out when the draft happens. But you look at this pressure rate. Tyleik Williams, 1 pressure almost every 25 plays. That's more than double, almost triple some of these guys. No, it's not up to snuff. It's not the same. So some of these things are not like the other things. And these 3 will be impact players on day 1 in the NFL. They will rotate in. And a lot of people might say, well, we already got Grady Jarrett. We already got Gervon Dexter. We already got Andrew Billings. Andrew Billings is on the last year of his contract. He's one of the worst run-defending defensive tackles in the league. I'm sorry. I hate to offend anyone. I like Andrew Billings as a rotational player. He got good pressure last year. Then he was injured. But we need someone to come in and compete and replace as well, because Andrew Billings is not getting re-signed with his team. I'm sorry if that burst anyone bubble, but we're looking to go past mediocre and go into the next step. That's why we went and got Grady Jarrett. That's why Gervon Dexter is not safe a couple years from now. That's why Andrew Billings is not safe now. We need to go get one of these elite guys, and this is why it's clear to me that at number 10 or a small trade down, you guys know I love the trade down. That's the other half of this video. I love the trade down. So with that, we need to take one of these guys. Mason Graham falls at 10. Don't even hesitate. Run that ticket up there. Hand it in. Boom. Done. It's over. I don't think they even run tickets up anymore. I think they just process it digitally. I don't know. Anyways. Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, love them both too. I would be happy with any one of those 3 guys, and I think that's the direction the Bears need to go with. That being said, let's jump into the second half of this video. All right, playing with house money. All right. This is a concept that I came across, when I was out there gambling the other night. No, I really don't. But I live in Vegas. Those who don't know, I live in Vegas, and there's a term called playing with house money. Basically, when you get free casino money, when you get the money from the casino, you're playing with the house money, right? No skin off your back if you lose. House money. So I got two examples here. And Ryan Poles, those who don't know, in 2022 played with house money quite a bit. He traded down, got some more picks, traded down with those trade downs, got some more picks, traded down. He did it like 4 times. It was a thing of beauty in a team that didn't have a first rounder and had to generate some draft capital. And no, it wasn't very great draft capital, but we did generate some draft capital, and we got some guys in here who came in and helped us a little bit during the rebuild. And away they went, shoo, and thank you for what you did, and you're gone, Doug Kramer, and you're gone, Jatiri Carter, and you're gone, Larry Borum. But thank you for helping us out in the process, and we appreciate what you did. And now we have a better team, and we're in a better place, and now we can develop in a place where we need to properly be. So, 2022, we did it a ton. 2023, there were 42 draft day trades. This is not by the Bears. This is by everybody. Now, last year was down a little bit. There were only 28 draft day trades. It's normally higher than that, between 30 and 50. But it was down last year. And many people are saying, well, in this year's draft, we can't trade down. No one's going to want to trade down. Bolshevik. Every year there will be trades in the draft. It will happen. I promise you, when we get to draft day, there will be trades. There will be players that certain teams want. They want to come up and get, whether it's the same positions we're in, or a linebacker, or a safety, or something. Someone will want to come up and get someone. Always happens all the time. And some teams have a lot more capital to spend as far as picks. They have a lot more picks, maybe not more capital. We have some of the most capital. I think it's the first year I've seen in a long, long time where there's not multiple teams, or at least one team, that doesn't have their first round pick. Everyone's got their own first round pick this year. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be interesting. So in this concept, this is already house money. This is the pick from the Panthers. We're going to trade down slightly. And I only took what was given to me, those who wanted to trade. So in this scenario, the Niners wanted to come up 4 spots and get their guy, and they traded us a 4th rounder to do it. And these are all value. They're all good value. I mean, not just one way or the other. They're all good value on these trades, okay? So it's fair. All right. So on that one, we got some house money there. We picked up a 4th rounder. That's what I mean by house money. We just got a free 4th rounder by trading down 4 spots. All right, in the first round, we're going to trade down from 10 to 19. I think it's a little far. I don't think Ryan Poles will want to do it, but it's the earliest trade option I had. I went with it, and I do love this right here. We picked up a 3rd rounder next year to do it. Now, think about how much we've enjoyed having a 2nd rounder this year, number 39 and number 41. Same excitement will be next year. Still day 2 picks. So we'll have a 1st, a 2nd, and 2 thirds. I think Bears will be excited to do that, and I think it's fun to be able to have that prospecting concept, okay? So we traded down. We got an extra pick, and with the extra pick right here, 253, we're going to trade down with it again. So we'll take our pick at 19, and then we will trade down again to play with that house money and generate more picks. We will trade that 2 spots, and I know this might seem like a lot to some people, but 2 spots and getting a 5th and a 6th rounder is not a huge trade down. Now, it could have been 2 spots and maybe a 3rd or maybe a 4th, and that would have been equal value, but a 5th and a 6th kind of equals, a low-level 4th. So that is good trade value there. The Chargers wanted to come up 2 spots, and so they're willing to give us their 5th and their 6th. They actually have more than 1 5th and more than 1 6th and multiples. They have a lot of picks this year. The Chargers have a ton of picks. So this isn't outside of the realm of possibility of something they absolutely could do. So they do that, and if you follow the little yellow line and the little blue line here, you'll see later on the Bears, as 72, they see a player that we want to take, and I'm going to do the spoiler here. It's Jordan Burch, one of the few defensive ends later that I think the Bears could take because he's very developmental right now. He is not a finished product whatsoever, and that's why he's projected down in the 3rd round. We'll get to him in a minute. But we're going to pair up that 6th rounder that we received from the Chargers with pick 72 to come up 2 spots. And you might say, well, they had to give up more to go up 2 spots. Well, that was in round 2, pick 53 to 55. This is pick 72 to 70 in round 3. And that's what makes this value the way it is. So it works out. So we trade up 2 spots there. We use some draft capital. We use some house money to move up a few spots. And then down here at 158, we're going to use some house money to trade from 158 down to 176 and pick up a 6th rounder again. Now, again, we're later, so in the 5th round, Moving down to 18 spots is what it takes to get a 6th rounder, and the Ravens wanted to trade up and get that. We made it happen, and this is what I mean by playing with house money. So I'll just jump straight to the point here and show you the draft that happened. So here's our draft. Walter Nola at 119, and Ariante Ursary. I didn't plan on taking a guard or a tackle or any offensive lineman here at 241. I remember we traded from 239 down to 243, so we were playing with house money there. So at 241, I wasn't planning on taking an offensive lineman. Move me off screen so you can see all these guys. But I did because Ariante Ursary was there. I don't think he'll fall out of the first round. If he does, it'll be slightly out of the first round. But to me, Ariante Ursary is a really good player that can play both guard and tackle. He's got shorter arm length at 34 inches, which isn't bad. It still can keep you in tackle range. But it gives us an option to be able to have a backup behind Karan Amagaji, behind Braxton Jones. If we decide to unload Braxton Jones, if he's not working out, whatever the scenario may be, it gives us some depth there, and he can play left guard as well. So I like the idea of Ariante Ursary. Not who I was planning taking there. I was actually planning on taking initially Landon Jackson because he's always there, but he was gone by this point. So anything can happen in the draft, and that's the point of this. And that's when I went with Jordan Burch later on. So you'll see that coming. Caleb Johnson, to me, is becoming one of my favorite prospects in this draft. I really like him at running back. I think he's the total package. I think he would be the perfect fit for the Bears offense. I like Caleb Johnson a lot. Then Mason Taylor, we did a small trade down again from 53 to 55, remember? Took Mason Taylor. He's got NFL heritage. He's got family members who are going to help him come along in the league. Straight line, very good receiving and blocking tight end, so I like him a lot. Then we traded up 2 spots to get Jordan Burch. I think it's a realistic take on the scenario. You want to get him. We might have to trade up even more than 2 spots, so maybe we'd have to give up another one of these later picks, maybe the pick right down here at 212 to get him as well, to move up another couple spots to get Jordan Burch. But not a finished product. Really good production this last year. And I'll get into more on him in a minute, but I like the idea of taking Jordan Burch later because he's that bigger. It seems that Dennis Allen has that type, right? That he wants to take the bigger defensive ends that can move really well, and he did really well at the Combine. We're going to take a safety, Billy Bowman, in the 4th. Take Luke Kandra, who I think is undervalued by many, at guard in the 5th. Danny Stutzman, linebacker, and you'll see I do take 2 linebackers, and I like the idea of doing this to create competition. These later round picks often turn into practice squad guys anyways. So they might go to the practice squad. Maybe someone steals them, but you're taking a flyer at the very end of the draft here. Now, Holland Pierce, I do agree. I think PFF has him way out of order. I don't think there's any way he falls to the 6th round, but if he does, we snag him. Just say this is someone more like Jack Nelson from Wisconsin, or another one of those offensive tackles we can develop on the right side, or maybe we use this pick to trade up here at 370 to go up a little bit higher too, to 360 or to 68 or to 66 or somewhere in that range. We can say many different scenarios here. Then we're taking Drew Kendall, who I think is very undervalued as well. Played at Boston College, so maybe Ryan Poles has a little affinity for Boston College. Going to look at him a little closer than most would. But I do like Drew Kendall. I think he's a good prospect to develop, and it gives some competition at that backup center position as well. So I know the one thing you guys like to see is how it all looked on the draft simulator. So here's PFF simulator, and this is what it looked like. So there's the one trade down from 10 to 19, picking up the extra 3rd rounder, trading down that 39, the pick we got before, to 43 and 138, trading down 53 that we got from here, and getting 158, 209, trading that 209 with 72 up to 70, getting ahead of the Saints there so we can take Jordan Burch, then taking Billy Bowman, Luke Kandra, Danny Stutzman, and then trading back one more time here to get an extra one at 212. And, like I said, maybe we aren't able to do that. Maybe we had to trade that pick away to come up a little farther to get Jordan Burch. We can see what happened there. But they gave me a B- on this. Screw you, PFF. You don't know what you're talking about. Screw you. This is a fantastic draft. Well, man, I don't know. Let you guys be the judge. Maybe this isn't a fantastic draft to you guys. Maybe you've seen better. I've seen better. Maybe you've seen better. So let me know what your thoughts are on this draft. Let's run through. I know one thing you guys like to see, though, is how it looks on here. So here's the depth chart, and I really like this offensive line a lot because one primary thing here, this gives us the ability to develop many young offensive linemen. Maybe they all won't work out. Maybe Drew Kendall doesn't work out. Maybe Luke Kandra doesn't work out. Maybe Holland Pierce. But one of these guys is surely going to work out. And when you're throwing this many darts at the dartboard, it's going to result in some good results, especially when you have a good offensive line coach. Now, one important thing to point out here, in this scenario, I'm saying we can cut Ryan Bates. I don't think the Bears would cut him before the draft because they want to see what happens. Maybe they want to see this unfurl in the draft. Maybe they want to see what happens first. But when that happens, he has received a $500,000 bonus now that becomes a dead cap or roster bonus for being on the roster at the beginning of the league year. So he does get $5. So we'd only save $3.5. I know a lot of people have stuck in their head we'd save $4 million because that's what it was before. At the turn of the league year, it turned into $3.5. I'm still okay cutting him at that point because now we have this depth. We can have Drew Kendall competing with Ricky Stromberg. And I don't know if you guys have seen on Twitter or on social media. I think it's on YouTube too. Ricky Stromberg in the offseason, he's working really hard. He's putting a lot of work. He's in the gym basically every day, and they're showing videos of him basically trying to revitalize a third-round pick earlier, a very highly coveted center a couple years ago in the draft, and then injuries, and then eventually cut. The Bears are taking a flyer on him. He very well could upend Drew Kendall here for that spot, but I like having an idea of these guys competing either way. And you got Ariante Ersaret, who I would put him above of Kieran Amargaji at this point. I mean, he's a higher prospect, and he'd be a good option there. But Holland Pierce can develop as well. One of these guys can move over to the right tackle, be a swing tackle. We could see what could happen there. But Luke Kandra, I think, is a very good option. Bill Murray might make it ahead of him with the experience he has. I don't know. We'd see. But I do like this offensive line now, and I like the way that it looks a lot more with those youth, with all those orange circles drafting them to develop. All right, we move to the quarterbacks and running back room. And, I don't know if anybody's heard or everybody hasn't heard. Travis Homer was re-signed for 1 year, $2 million. I don't know how much is guaranteed. Hopefully we can cut him still if we need to. Maybe they're sending Ian Wheeler to the practice squad. Maybe they're not comfortable with Ian Wheeler's healing. We'll have to see what happens. Either way, I do see us drafting a running back. So there's Caleb Johnson, and we'll move forward to the wide receiver room. And I'm going to stick to my guns here with Rondale Moore. And yes, I'm freaking excited that we brought him into Halas Hall. I know that was awkward, but I am excited about that. And I'm going to get this right. Olamide Zaccheaus. A lot of you are getting after me for Olamide Zaccheaus' name. Yes, I was calling him Olamide. It's Olamide. And yes, I actually put it into my phone, and I said, how do you pronounce Olamide? Olamide. And it said, dude, you don't have a clue what you're talking about. Pronunciation. This is how you pronounce it.
Olamide.
Oh, Olamide. Not Olamide. So many of you told me Olamide. It's Olamide. Okay, Olamide. I got it. And maybe we sign Mecole Hardman too. I don't know. It wouldn't hurt to have a sixth there. Maybe Colin Johnson comes up with his height. I like Mason Taylor, though, a lot. Durham Smythe would be a great blocking tight end. So I like this room a lot more. I feel like it's getting shaped, and I didn't feel the need to take a wide receiver in the draft this year. Maybe we would next year, but you got DJ Moore and Rome Odunze under contract for quite some time. I'm comfortable with this room. All right, moving on to the defensive line room, and I like the way this is turning out as well. This is much better. Much better. So, Montez Sweat, Gervon Dexter, Grady Jarrett, Dayo Odengbo, and then behind them, you've still got, the bendy, flexy, twitchy. Hopefully he's putting on some weight. Hopefully he's working out Austin Booker. But then Jordan Burch at 273 pounds. And yes, that's his official weight. We'll show you in just a second. And then Walter Nolan as well, rotating in. Andrew Billings is still here. I am not nearly as high as many of you are. And then this gives us the ability to cut Chris Williams. I do think we would keep Zach Pickens over Chris Williams for the year. With him still being a rookie and developmental, Chris Williams could save us $3.263 million. That's not jump change. So we can save that money from there and from Ryan Bates, and that gets us back in check, and we would be in good position there. And Daniel Hardy still there for special teams as well. I like this defensive line a lot, but let's show you real quick. Here's Jordan Burch. Take me off the screen. You can see, they had him listed at 6'6", 295. Officially from the Combine, that's what this over here is, 6'4", 279. Sometimes teams exaggerate. Maybe they like to say they have more inches than they do. Maybe they like to boast it up a little bit. The downfalls with Jordan Burch, okay? You can see here only 195 pass rush snaps this last year. He had an ankle and a knee injury this last year, okay? 5 years, so he's getting a little bit older. He's 23. He's not old yet, and only one real year where that sack production came up. So there's question marks there, but when you watch him on tape, there is some good tape to be had. for Jordan Burch. You can see him here in this. Let's see, make sure I have everything lined up there. No issues. No issues there. Okay, I just want to make sure I don't have any sound on. So Jordan Burch is the true definition of the big defensive end that Dennis Allen would probably like, who has a lot of upside potential, not a lot of burst off the line. Needs to maybe hit the weight room on the bottom of his legs a little bit, get that base under him a little bit, but he's got some good motor. He does not stop. He continues to go. So when you've got that and you've got someone with drive and passion, I think he's someone that could be coached up, and he's got good size for how Dennis Allen likes him. Sometimes these defensive ends take a couple years. So he's got 5 years in college. I get that. He's not the young spry chicken, but you're taking him with that much experience and the growth that he's had, and then you're adding him to Dennis Allen, getting behind Dayo Odengbo, getting him behind Montez Sweat, and I think this could be a good recipe to develop a good third-round defensive end. So you don't have to take the first-rounder here. We can take a third-rounder and still hopefully get some good results out of him. I like the idea of that. So you see over here, most places have him between, 65 and 90. And that's why right here in the 70 range, we traded up just to make sure we secured him. This is all the different outlets. I know that's really small to see. For some reason, Walter Football has him in the first round. I don't think that's realistic. But anyways, when 9 out of 10 are in the opposite direction, he's probably going to fall in this third round range. So Jordan Burch, good prospect, and I really like the way that looked for that defensive line. I like the way that's coming together. You got two bigger defensive ends who both have good athleticism. Jordan Burch did very well at the combine, very athletic. His 10-yard split was very quick. So there's a lot of upside there, and Walter Nolen needs no introduction for me because I've hyped him up so much on this channel. You guys know I love Walter Nolen. I would love to see him as a Bear. All right, last couple positions. Let's move forward. Here's your linebackers, and it's not necessarily Noah Sewell, the last man out. Maybe it is Kane Medrano. Maybe he's the last man out. But I do see Danny Stutzman kind of filling in there for the Jack Sanborn role. We re-signed Josh Blackwell. We got Swayze Bozeman. I like just having a lot of competition here to be able to have these guys compete and see what they can do, and the best man wins. And last but not least, Jalen Jones, still sitting on the outside right now. He's a free agent. He's got his wife, or I don't know if his girlfriend or wife, but he's got a child. They've got a child together, and they post stuff on social media every now and then before the game. And seems like he's got his crap together, and he loves being a part of the Chicago Bears. So we did not RFA him. We did not sign his tender his restricted free agency. So he's a free agent. He can sign with anyone. I think the Bears are kind of waiting for the draft to see what happens. Do we pick up a cornerback in the draft, or we bring Jalen Jones back? I think he's played very well for us. I'd love to see us bring him back for one more year and then a draft cornerback and safety and all that stuff next year. And then Billy Bowman we're bringing in with our 4th-round pick to be able to compete, see what he can do. Hopefully Jaquan Brisker is all healthy and back to normal. But there's the main concept of this video, playing with house money, getting that gamble on, shooting down just a little bit so we can pick up those extra draft picks, getting those extra picks and turning them into developmental players. And I realize it takes two to tango. You got to have two. You got to have a partner in this situation to be able to have someone to help us out, trade with us, trade up and trade down. We got to have someone to help us out. So it takes two to tango. So we can see what happens in that front. But I like the idea of this if the Bears can pull it off. And then the other aspect of this, let me know if this helps you guys at all. If you saw anything in here that related, maybe you said, man, this guy's full of crap. I see a huge difference here in Ashton Jeanty. There's no way we take anyone but Ashton Jeanty. He's got to be our pick at 10, right? Or if you look here and you see the same thing I do and you say Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, and Walter Nolen, that missed tackle percentage, the tackling grades, combined with the pressure that these guys generate, I don't want anyone but them. There's a good pressure generation from Derek Harmon, but his tackling is absolutely piss poor, terrible. Or Tyleik Williams is decent on some front, but his pressure rate is terrible. He's not going to move the pocket enough. Or Deion Walker's just a huge freaking human beast, and he's kind of level on all of them. So even though he's not the same level as these top ones, maybe we're fine with that in the second round. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think, though, because this one just makes too much sense that we really need to focus on defensive tackle. And if we can, trade down. We know Ryan Poles at the Combine has said he would like to trade down if possible and still acquire a good talent in this draft. So it's on his radar. They kind of put the feeler out with that one. You kind of put those kind of things out in other teams' list, and they say, okay, if our guy's sitting there at 10, if we're the Colts at 14 and we want Tyler Warren or nothing else, and he gets past the Jets at 7, we're willing to trade up from 14 to 10. Let's do it because we know how Ryan Poles has already said what he said. So, anyways, I like the idea of this one. I like the concept of the playing with house money. Let me know what you guys think, though. I do appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, please do that. If you haven't subscribed, just subscribe. Share it with your friends. Let everyone know because the channel's growing, but it does always need your guys' help with those thumbs up and sharing it with your friends. So, appreciate you guys. Until next time, the Bears and bear down.
Sports making Chicago proud.